Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 57 on February 12th, 2023 from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1,199 versus a regular price of $1,999 for one total savings of $800. This limited time super discount comes out to less than $100 per month and only $3.28 per day. As an added bonus, your all access starts immediately, so the sooner you buy before Super Bowl 56, the more additional days you will get for free. Just go to WagerTalk.com, choose your favorite handicapper to lock in, and don't forget there is no limit to the amount of handicappers you can redeem our Super Bowl to Super Bowl offer on.
Happy Friday, everybody. Friday starts the weekend, and we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting markets. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com and Andrew McInnis from WagerTalk.com. We're going to go over the two obvious big games this weekend, the NFL playoff game. We're going to have best bets, and we're also going to give out some tidbits from some of the sports that each of us follow very closely. So let's get right into it. We always start our show with our fun stats. And I started off with some 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo stats because they're interesting. Let's go with fun stat number one. Jimmy Garoppolo is 9-2 in his career when he throws 0 touchdown passes. And somehow, some way, he is 3-0 in playoff games when he throws 0 touchdown passes. So whenever he does not throw for a touchdown, they do well. Makes no sense. Fun stat number two. In 2005, the 49ers drafted Alex Smith number 1, and Aaron Rodgers fell to number 24. Since then, the 49ers have gone to more Super Bowls than Green Bay, and they are 4-0 against Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. So who would have thunk Alex Smith being drafted number 1 was the right pick there. So, all right, Matt Josephs, you sent in a good kicking stat, and I know you're crushing it in the kicking props. So give us your fun stat for kicking for this weekend.
I mean, when anybody thinks fun, they think of special teams and kickers. That's for sure. So you guys know I love to do the field goal props. So I actually looked it up. The number of times that each of the 4 teams have allowed multiple field goals this season. Kansas City has only done so 4 times. San Francisco 5 times. The Rams 8 times, and the Bengals also 8 times. So that kind of could be a telling stat for this weekend as well.
Always the master of the kicking props. And then we are going to bring in producer Dan, chef extraordinaire, and he has an absolutely incredible fun stat. Dan, give it to us.
Well, the reason I pulled up the 3 box is because Matt's going to love this one. Back in the wild card round when Odell Beckham Jr. threw a 40-yard pass, he now officially has more passing yards in the playoffs than Matt Joseph's favorite player in the world, Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has 3 passing yards for comparison. So that's what I got for you.
Oh, yeah.
That's yours, Andy.
Makes that decision for the Colts even a little bit easier. So cap hit, momentum hit, everything's a hit with Carson Wentz.
Momentum hit. So, I gotta say, Andy, those Jimmy G stats are ridiculous. Like, that is just ridiculous.
It makes no sense.
Like, pretty much, that guy shouldn't even be celebrating. Like, he should be walking around the field, shaking his teammates' hands and saying thank you because he didn't do anything. So that team does well when he does nothing. Imagine what they would do if he actually did anything. That's my quote of the day.
I think he should be celebrating beyond belief. The guy, this might be the luckiest guy in the world. He looks like a model, plays football like a model sometimes, and somehow ends up winning when he does the least amount. It's like, what did this guy do to get dealt this hand in life? Yeah, his teammates love him. Well, he just wins. Yeah, unbelievable, Jimmy Garoppolo. Congratulations on the life, man. All right, so let's get into the playoff games. Matt, I'm going to come to you first. Let's start off with the AFC. Let's talk the Chiefs and the Bengals. So take us through some of the props that you're going to be looking at for this game. What's a good way to attack this one?
Well, I mean, as I've kind of done a lot of the season, I'm looking at the fringe guys. I think Tyreek Hill's going to have a big game probably. I think Travis Kelce could have a big game. But I'm looking at Byron Pringle and Mecole Hardman. Byron Pringle's number is 3.5 for receptions. And if you look, he's had 33 targets the last bunch of games, 24 receptions. And, these quarterbacks, they love throwing to guys that they can rely on. And Byron Pringle's one of those guys. And I understand there's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. But, I mean, look, if you can get over 3.5 receptions at plus money, I'm looking at Byron Pringle. And I think the number for Mecole Hardman's pretty manageable. Saw it on DraftKings last night. It was 25.5 receiving yards. He can get that in one reception. If you look, he's getting about 40% of the snaps lately. He's kind of fluctuated a little bit as well, around 70% sometimes. Since December 1st, his longest reception has been over 25.5 receiving yards. So why would I not take a chance with the guy? Because you figure that Kansas City is going to roll coverage towards Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce towards the middle is going to get extra love. Mecole Hardman just has to break one 26-yard reception, and you get this thing. So I think the Chiefs fringe guys might actually be better plays than their main guys in this one. And unfortunately, I think I have to break up with Evan McPherson. Field goals are not going to win this game for the Chiefs. They were one of the teams that had multiple field goals against Kansas City, but I feel like Cincinnati knows, especially if they get behind in this game, that they're going to have to score touchdowns. So I may have to break up with Evan McPherson this week.
We'll touch on that though, Matt, because one thing that we've seen, at least I've seen this year a little bit more than in years past, is we actually have some more options with kickers. So I understand completely what you're saying about field goals, because if you got a 4th and 2 on the 15-yard line, they're going for it in a game. They're not going to trade field goals. But I don't know, maybe PATs. Are there any other things that you could do? Because the guy has been money. So do you ban it altogether, or do you look at a different category?
So here's the thing. So I actually think that, and this was something I actually was debating last night. Evan McPherson's PATs is 2.5 and is plus money to the over. And I was thinking about that because I'm like, look, I think the Bengals are going to score. The team total over probably comes into play a little bit. But here's the thing with Kansas City. What if they start going for twos? And then if they start going for twos and Cincinnati starts going for twos, then you're kind of screwed on that at PAT prop. So I would actually look maybe at the Bengals over 2.5 touchdowns prop. Now, look, it's not plus money, but if they score touchdowns, it doesn't matter if they go for 2-point conversions or PATs. Andy Reid loves to mess with the math a little bit. So, that's my only worry with McPherson's PATs. If you think that Cincinnati's going to score a bunch of touchdowns, just take them to score a bunch of touchdowns as opposed to the PATs, which I think Kansas City might go for 2, and that kind of messes with the math a little bit the rest of the game.
Great stuff from Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. Andrew, coming to you. Thoughts on the Bengals and Chiefs from a prop perspective?
You know what, Andy? Well, Matt's theme that he's discussed a lot over the past couple of weeks has been the field goals and the kicker props. I'm going to go ahead and say that I've had some success with the rushing props for quarterbacks. I'm going to go right back with it this week, guys, with Patrick Mahomes over 28.5 rushing yards. Shop around to find the best number you can possibly available. I have seen 29.5s out there as well. But look, I'm not saying we're going to see the exact same pressure the Bills applied from the Bengals, but we're going to see it. And I think that when you look at how talented the receiving core is for the Chiefs, how many weapons they have, and how they stretch the field, and then throw in that offensive line for the Chiefs that can be a little bit shaky, I think there's just so much worry all over the field. And all of a sudden, if you give Mahomes that split second, I think one thing he has improved on is knowing when to get out of the pocket and knowing when to go. And he's got over this number 7 times this year. He got over it last week easily on just a couple of plays, it seemed like. So one play I really do like is that rushing prop for Patrick Mahomes to add to the offense and kind of add a dual threat for him. And I think that's huge for the Chiefs, for him to establish that run. And make sure that, Bengals pass rush knows he's willing to leave the pocket and get out of there, because we know how talented those receivers are for the Chiefs. They will do damage. So these guys are going to be a little bit cautious. But, hey, if Mahomes leaves the pocket, it adds a whole different element to the game. Another one I want to mention, I've been talking about Jamar Chase for several weeks now. I mean, everybody's talking about how great he's been. But let's talk about what happened with Gabriel Davis last week, okay? Gabriel Davis was unbelievable. And one of the reasons why he was because Stephon Diggs was absolutely locked up and nobody had the key for him. Nobody could get to him. We have to take a look, guys, at T. Higgins. And if you look at these numbers for him, look, it's 69.5. That's, I try to look for the best number for you guys. 69.5 is what I can get for you for him. And there's just an opportunity here to look towards secondary. I'm not saying I don't think Jamar Chase could get his number as well. I'm saying that this is an opportunity to look towards T. Higgins, a guy that I think has kind of flown under the radar a little bit over the past several weeks. He's caught balls, but not really the longest catches. I feel like if we see the exact same thing that happened last week, where they're locking in on the number one guy, on that key guy with Jamar Chase, we're going to see a wide open T. Higgins making some big plays. And this is a young offense that, Joe Burrow has faith in all these guys. And if he doesn't see Chase open, he's going to look towards Higgins. And we have seen him get over this number quite a few times this season. So 2 props I really like on this one. Kind of hoping for the same result we saw last week, same kind of play style. And I'm kind of using, what have I learned? What have I seen lately on both these props with Mahomes rushing and looking at T. Higgins over on his receiving.
Good stuff. Andrew McInnis at WagerTalk.com. I will be looking first towards Travis Kelce. The Bengals gave up the 5th most receiving yards to tight ends in the regular season. Kelce had a good game against them. And I just feel like last week we saw the stars really shine. We saw Mahomes throw a lot of passes. And who did he throw them to? Like Matt said, the guys he trusts, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Byron Pringle has definitely stepped into that role. And when we look at Kelce, when I'm looking at his receiving yards, we're getting 76.5. This is easily obtainable in a game that projects to be a shootout. As far as receptions, Kelce is 6.5 at plus 110. I lean more towards the yards because Kelce's actually been getting longer catches. We've seen some of these catches and runs. So I could see him getting 6 catches and coming up just short, but going over his yards. I think that is more likely as opposed to getting a lot of catches and coming under the receiving total. So I would look towards Travis Kelce. And, something that's interesting in this game, there's a lot of guys that could go over if this game is a shootout. Like if Mahomes has a big game, he's going to have 3 or 4 receivers go over this total. It's completely conceivable. And the same is for Joe Burrow. Like Andrew was saying, you could absolutely play Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to get over, because if Burrow has a 350-yard game, which he's more than capable of, and I would guess he's probably going to get, in that category, I would say you can hit multiple receivers. I'm pretty surprised by the passing yards on both these quarterbacks. Burrow is 290. Mahomes is 293.5. I both got to go over. I mean, I would almost say 1-1 would be your worst case scenario. One of them is going to go over 300 yards. My guess is both of them do. And then the last thing I would just like to touch on is we see in the playoffs, the stars really shine for the Bengals. There is no Samaje Perine. He has 1 touch in each game in the playoffs. It's all Joe Mixon. So when you're looking at some of these guys, and Joe Mixon is one in particular, he is getting all the touches. He's getting the runs. He's getting the receptions. And we've seen a big increase in the receiving game. We've hit that the last few weeks. Like when it's must win in the playoffs, they're going to put their best players in. And guys like Samaje Perine are only going to come in very, very sparingly. So I wouldn't worry about some of these star guys losing time to other players. So, all right, that wraps it up for the Bengals and the Chiefs. Let's move on to the NFC game. Let's talk the aforementioned Jimmy Garoppolo going up against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. California NFC game, Rams and 49ers. Matt, coming to you. Interesting matchup, interesting props. I find this game personally more difficult to handicap from a props betting perspective than the other one. So talk to us. What do you like in this game?
So I mean, first of all, I thought it was an interesting market, the Cam Akers rushing market, because it was when it first came out, it was like 58.5. And I was like, okay, I kind of like that number and the under. And then the next day it went up to 63.5. And I'm like, I don't understand what people are seeing here. If you look at Cam Akers, he's had 41 carries in 2 games, and he's gotten just over 100 yards total in those 41 carries. Now, look, the Tampa Bay game, Tampa Bay is one of the best, if not the best, rushing defense in the league, so that was understandable. Arizona, not exactly the best rushing defense, and yet they still didn't find a ton of success. And so I took the under for Cam Akers rushing yards here. I also wonder, the 2 fumbles that he had against Tampa Bay, do we see more Sony Michel? Do we even see there's a chance that Darrell Henderson's going to be activated for this one? And if they both are, will they start taking some carries? Because Cam Akers also is coming off an injury. And you want to overwork the guy, but you also don't want to overwork the guy. So I wasn't sure, because as we've always talked about on the show, if you want to take unders, you wait until as close to kickoff as possible. I actually took the under at 63.5. I think there's going to be a buyback there. So I think the under for Cam Akers is good. And then here's kind of a sleeper play that I think that a lot of people won't necessarily look at, but the numbers scream. Van Jefferson has not gotten a ton of work here. He's kind of a guy who's got 1, 2, or 3 receptions the past couple weeks. 13 of his last 14 games, he's gone over his number with regards to the longest reception. The number's 70.5. 13 of the last 14 games, he's gone over that, including both games against the 49ers. He had a 33 and a 24-yard reception. The past couple weeks, Cedric Wilson had a 24-yard catch. Nico Collins had a 20-yard catch. Nick Westbrook-Akine had a 24-yard catch. You look at this 49ers team, they do well against the number 1 somewhat, but it's the secondary guys who kind of have beaten them up a little bit. I think Van Jefferson over 17.5 yards for his longest reception is a play that the numbers tell me to make. May not be one of your bigger unit size plays here, but the trends all point to him having a good game, or at least a long reception here. So it's something to put on your radar, and something you probably didn't consider, considering how little work he's gotten as of late.
Matt, I couldn't agree more with your Cam Akers take. I had looked at his unders as well. They didn't make any sense. What, he averaged 2 yards a carry last week, and he had 24 carries, but that number seemed out of whack to me. I personally was looking at the rush attempts because I don't think it's going to be that big of a blowout. I mean, Tampa Bay made the run, late, but I couldn't agree more with your Cam Akers. And yes, I've heard the rumors about Darrell Henderson and the fumbles. You can't be fumbling the ball and get it. So I think that is just an absolutely fantastic play, and your stat on Van Jefferson is incredible. Did not see that one. So nice work, Mass Josephs from sportsmemo.com. Andrew, what do you think? 49ers, Rams, what should we be looking at?
Sometimes you're doing a show and you have a bunch of notes prepared on one specific player, and then the person that goes before you says everything you were planning on saying, and that's kind of what just happened there, guys. So let's make it 3. Let's make it all 3 of us. Let's go with Cam Akers under, 2.3 yards per carry last week. In general, since this guy's had any type of injuries, he just has not performed, and I believe in the fact that the fumble will hurt his chances of getting a bunch of carries. So it's a good point you raised there, Andy, because, hey, what if he does get one fluky little, really breaks through, gets a good rush, but still doesn't end up getting that many touches? All of a sudden, you're cashing your carry wager on the under, and maybe we're a little bit hurting, hoping to get that. But something kind of interesting here, guys. His number is 3 yards higher this week than it was last week. 3 yards higher this week than it was last week, and we saw what he did last week. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I was a little bit surprised and thrown off by that. Look, this one I'm going to give out here is a little bit, I don't want to say obvious, but hey, winners are winners here, guys. How about Deebo Samuel? I think we got to be talking about him. This team has done really, really well since he started running the ball, and I just can't really believe that they're going to go away from a game plan. You just don't do that. And when you see what he's been able to do for this team, also when you've got a quarterback like Andy keeps talking about with Jimmy G, you want to look towards running the ball when you can. And the athleticism that he brings and kind of the dual threat, now he's got several jobs. I wanted to find the stat here. 49ers are 8-2 straight up since Deebo started receiving more than a handful of rushes per game since week 11. This team is doing pretty much, this team is better when Jimmy G does absolutely nothing. And he just lets his athletic receivers and rushers do all the work. So over 39.5 right now. This guy's gotten to 46.5, 47 countless times. And that number to me is just a little bit too low. They're going to try and utilize everything they can. I believe the Niners are going to try and get really, really creative in this game. And, I guess we've seen it before with Debo, but I think this goes into the creativeness for the 49ers. So let's make it very clear. Get the ball out of Jimmy G's hands and try and run the ball and try and take care of the ball. And I think if they do that, they'll go to Deebo Samuel. And it sounds like it's a three-way agreement here on the Cam Akers under as well.
Yeah, a couple other things I would just add to this. We've been talking about Jimmy G, and if they continued that game plan and if the game is close, they're going to run it with Elijah Mitchell. So I would look at Elijah Mitchell overs, and I would, we've been talking about how Jimmy G hasn't done much, so why not take his under? They have his under at 232 yards passing. He hasn't had over 173 yards in either of the playoff games, and they've resulted in wins. I think you're going to see a ball control type of game like San Francisco normally does, but if the Rams get up, the play could be in trouble, but I'm not betting against the 49ers at this point. So if the game is close, they're going to run it, and Jimmy G is going to come flying under his passing total as well. One other play I'd like to mention, Odell Beckham, it's 52.5. They've been going to him in the playoffs. Like I mentioned earlier, in the playoffs, the stars shine. He's been really good. He's gone over this total in both games. So they're going to, obviously, San Francisco is going to try and do whatever they can to stop Cooper Kupp. So Van Jefferson, like Matt mentioned, and maybe Odell Beckham might be ways to attack this game as well. So, all right, there you go. That's the NFL playoff games. Hope everyone cashes a bunch of tickets on that. Let's go to a couple other sports. Matt, I'm going to go to you first. Tell us first what you got going on this weekend, and we're going to talk some college basketball team totals and what to look for there, what's been working and what hasn't. So talk to us about your plans this weekend, what everyone can expect, and then some college basketball.
Well, the prop pack is up on sportsmemo.com, and as I put more props in, they'll you can get them for a very reasonable price over on sportsmemo.com. We've with the way props go, we've had some success in some games. We've had some misreads in some games. I mean, it's quite clear. I've always said, actually, it might be harder to handicap the props than the game itself, because you're handicapping the game, and then you're handicapping how the players in the game, will perform. But so we've had some hits and we've had some misses, and we'll have plenty of college basketball. One play for tonight. Well, I'm going to practically give it away by what we're going to talk about in just a moment, and we'll have college basketball all weekend. We've had the 130 games on Saturday. So plenty of action for the folks on Saturday and Sunday in college basketball. And look, I've kind of trying to take advantage of the team total markets, and I actually have a graphic today. Like, this is how professional I am. The folks in the back, they made me a graphic. So let's pop this thing up. Here we go. So look, when I show you this graphic here, it doesn't mean blindly bet it all the time. But these are the teams that I'm kind of targeting right now. And I'll give you a quick fact. So Toledo has scored 80 or more in 7 of their 9 MAC games. They're playing tonight. Hint, hint. I like the over once again for them. Vermont is shooting 62% from 2 and almost 50% from 3 in conference play. They've had 80 or more in every conference game. Hint, hint. They're pretty good. And South Dakota State has scored 92, 93, and 96 their last 3 games. They're just incredible on offense. A couple of bad defenses to target. Nebraska Omaha has actually allowed 100 points or more 3 times in conference play this season. In the same conference, North Dakota is 345th in 2-point percentage defense, 353rd in 3-point percentage defense. And Western Michigan on the road has given up 83, 85, 83, 109, and 90. And then there's some bad offenses to occasionally take an under on. IUPUI has scored over 60 one time this season. They've scored 41, 45, and 37 points in their last 3 games. Lamar in WAC play is shooting 42% from 2 and 25.8% from 3. And Evansville has scored 60 points or less in 8 of their last 10. And then one other bonus, Eastern Illinois has scored over 60 twice in 18 games against D1 opponents. So, look, these are trends that you want to take advantage of. You don't blindly bet them, but you certainly want to take advantage of that sort of thing, because these are some hot teams right now and some cold teams and some teams to take advantage of in college basketball. So that's just some trends I'm looking at in recent team totals.
Great stuff. I mean, those are incredible numbers. Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. Go take a look at his college basketball. Those team totals are fantastic, and certainly they're going to be flying under the radar, which is what we love about some of these props. You can get out ahead of the books that aren't paying attention to some of those. So nice work, Matt. Andrew, coming to you. Tell us what you have going on this weekend. I know you've been on an absolute tear in NHL, and you're going to talk to us about some in-game props. So, Andrew, tell us what you got this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been great having the props up earlier. I know that we've seen a lot of movement with these props, so I have a prop package up, but it's going to take some time. I want to make sure everyone's getting the best of the number, but also getting a number that's available when they purchase that package. They'll be able to see it. So grab the prop package for me over at wt.buzz/AM. Get all the prop plays emailed to you right when I send those out for this weekend. Looking forward to a great NFL weekend. Of course, NHL, I always talk about it every single week. Saturdays are one of the biggest and most action-packed days for the NHL. And guys, my prop volume has gone up recently in the NHL. It's going pretty well. Goal scorers, betting on assists, power play points, you name it. So I've really, really been enjoying that. So you can grab NHL. We've got Score 299 is the promo code. Score 299. Get the rest of the NHL season. $299 plus playoffs there, hitting around 70% since the middle of November off a 5% winner on Thursday night. I want to talk about in-game prop betting, and this is, very generic topic here to look at, but as I'm starting to see it become more and more available at several different sports books and websites and different places you can go to make your wagers, I want people to realize one thing and one thing only. If I could get 1 point across, this is the point I want to make. The game is completely different than what you handicapped the second that game starts. It is a brand new game. What's happened on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth drive in the football game changes what you thought about the game prior to the game. And people kind of want to chase their wagers. So if you had this player over a certain reception, he only has one. It doesn't mean you have to go in-game live, and because you got him 5.5 and you can now get him over 3.5, that's the best idea to do. You need to read the game script, check out which players have been targeting, which players you feel will get targeted more. Will the rushing game be used more in the second half? Will a quarterback be forced to throw more? I cashed Tom Brady's live over passing yards last week. You can find so many great plays live, and it applies for hockey as well. You can actually bet live shots on goal for these top guys or live saves for certain goaltenders. I'll tell you what, if a team is up 4-1, you can already expect there's going to be plenty of pressure applied in their end. And if you can get a decent price on a goaltender over, let's say, 28.5 saves when they already have 15 or 16, you can guarantee that opponent is going to be peppering shots from all angles they might not have already been doing in the first half of the game. And that's kind of stuff you want to look at if you're doing in-game prop betting. You can't just think about what you were thinking about prior to the game. It's a whole new game, guys. And that's what people have to really understand, is that if you're going to be making wagers on proposition bets in the middle of a game, it's brand new. So last week, if you liked Tom Brady's under, you might not have thought that was going to happen in the game, the way they went down. But in the game, you're realizing, well, this guy's going to have to air it out. Everything is different the second that game starts.
It's so true. It's also a good way to protect yourself. If you're, if you've got a prop and it's not going well, you can kind of bail out and just, if you're headed for a loss, you can at least protect your losses. And instead of losing like 3 units, you may only lose 1. So it's a great way to utilize the prop. So I agree completely. Andrew McInnis on WagerTalk.com. I am Andy Lang. WagerTalk.com NFL prop package is up. I got a 5% play. There is a play that stands out to me this week, and I love it. We've cashed it several times already in the playoffs. So let's do it again. And we also have a 5% NBA play going tonight. I would recommend a 3-day pass for myself. You can get a 3-day pass for less than the cost of 2 of the 5% play. So I would recommend 3-day passes. You'll get all the NFL props. You'll get NBA props and any golf that I had this week. So, Matt, your fancy schmancy little graphic was really cool. I actually didn't tell anybody I have a graphic myself. And I would like to talk about NBA streaks, how to see when they're stopping and when they're starting. And one thing, here's my graphic. We're going to talk Cole Anthony. So there's your graphic right there. Right there. Cole
Let the
Anthony.
camera focus. Let the camera focus.
Yeah, you can't.
It's focusing. There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Cole Anthony overs. That boom. Not everyone can. Yeah, you're not so special, Matt. All right. So the point of this is NBA can be very, very streaky. Teams are up and down. So what do we do when we see streaks that are stopping and starting? Well, you have to play them pretty aggressively. And Cole Anthony is a perfect example of this. At the beginning of the year, he was an over machine. And then the last few games, he got into a shooting slump. And we were cashing his unders left and right. I think we cashed like 4 or 5 in a row on Cole Anthony under his points, rebounds, and assists. Last game, he seemed to get his shooting stroke back. So we took a loss on that one, but we took it as a sign that his slump is probably getting over. So now if he's out of his slump, instead of taking unders, we're just going to aggressively come back and take his overs. So the books have adjusted based on his shooting slump. So we're getting a better number from the books that we can take an over. And the other one that I would like to mention, graphics department, are the Mavericks. The Mavericks were on a huge under roll. They were an under machine. They were giving up. Their games were in the 180s and 190s. And the last game, they broke out of it. They had a huge high-scoring game. So when we see these slumps, we know they're not going to last forever. So this Mavericks game where they flew over the total is a really nice indicator that they have probably broken out of this under slump. So we're going to look and pivot to the Mavericks going over. So we try and catch these streaks, and it's okay if you take a loss on one of these streaks. So we're looking to hit like 4 or 5 in a row, and then you take your loss and you switch it up. So you end up taking a streak and you go 4-1 or 5-1, and then you look for the next streak to reverse. So don't get down if you lose a bet on a streak. Just look at the big picture, and if you can get those streaks and you can find these teams and players, and you can hit 4-1, 5-1 streaks, you're going to end up way ahead over the course of a season. So, all right, gentlemen, it is best bets time. Let us give some actionable infotainment for the NFL playoffs. Matt, I'm coming to you, and no surprise, you have got a kicker prop for us. So talk to us. What do you like this week?
Listen, as one of the foremost kicker handicappers in America, 14-5 run. Yeah, 14-5. Whew, love the kickers. I think the only field goal prop I'm playing this weekend is the over for Robbie Gould, 1.5. It's plus money, I think, still in a bunch of the books. Quite simply, Gould has had multiple field goals in 4 straight, 5 of his last 7 games. He had 2 field goals in the January game. He had 1 in the other one. And the Rams, as we just did in the beginning of the show, have allowed multiple field goals 8 times this season. The Rams defense, I think, is good enough to hold them out of the end zone. And I think the 49ers offense is good enough, in quotes, to bog down, and considering this game's indoors and Robbie Gould's in good form, I think over 1.5 field goals for Robbie Gould is the way to go. And by the way, Andy, to go along with what you said with regards to the streaks, how about our guy Robert Covington last year? Did we not make a bunch of money when he had that little stretch where he was just, and his numbers were so low, but along the same lines, Robert Covington last year was a huge streak.
Yeah, you catch those streaks. And speaking of streaks, 14-5 from the nation's best kicking prop expert, Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you on this show. I don't know how you find the time with all those media obligations to talk about kickers. But no, seriously, it doesn't matter what the bet is. 14-5, that is impressive. We would all love to be on that stream. So congratulations to you on that. And check out Matt's stuff at sportsmemo.com for college basketball. And of course, all your kicking props. Andrew, coming to you. What do you like this weekend? What's your best bet?
Well, I'm sure you guys would agree with me that it's been nice having some props out earlier this week. A regular season, sometimes having to wait until Friday, Saturday morning to see some of these props pop up. The unfortunate part of seeing these props come out early, we have seen the movement. And Jamar Chase, his receiving yards now 87.5 yards. I'm going up and over. I talked about early in the show, I like T. Higgins. Give me Jamar Chase. It cashed for me last week. It's going to cash again this week. 4 of his last 5 games, he's gotten over this number. More importantly, he's blown out this number, getting well over 100 receiving yards. Your guy is your guy. And I know what happened with Stephon Diggs last week, and I told you guys about Gabriel Davis having that breakout day. But Jamar Chase will be active. We've seen what he can do over the last 5 weeks here. I feel like Joe Burrow will find him for a couple big plays here. Jamar Chase over 87.5 receiving yards.
Great pick. Love it. Love the Stars. I think they're going to shine this weekend. So great work from Andrew McInnis, WagerTalk.com. My best bet. I am going back to Joe Mixon in a receiving prop, but I'm going to take his over longest reception. It's only 12.5 yards. It seems shockingly low to me. He's gone over this total in 4 straight games. And in each playoff game, he's had a 21-yard catch and has been really early. They've set him up on some screen passes, some design plays early in the first quarter. So the nice thing about this one is you can cash it real early and just have a rocking chair type of day. Chiefs' third worst team defending running backs in the receiving game. So look for Mixon. I like his receiving total, but I think this longest reception is really low. He's had a lot of catches against a bad defense and in a shootout. And like we mentioned, Samaje Perine, not getting any touches. So don't worry about it. The passes are going to go to Mixon. So let's do a best bets recap here. I'm going with Joe Mixon, longest reception over 12.5 yards. Andrew McInnis is going with Jamar Chase over 87.5 receiving yards. And Matt Josephs, of course, is going with the kicking prop, Robbie Gould, over 1.5 field goals. Gentlemen, great stuff as always. Thank you very much, my fellow prop masters. Andrew McInnis from WagerTalk.com. Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Good luck. Let's have a great, profitable weekend. And we'll see you next time on Prop It Up.
Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 57 on February 12th, 2023 from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1,199 versus a regular price of $1,999 for one total savings of $800. This limited time super discount comes out to less than $100 per month and only $3.28 per day. As an added bonus, your all access starts immediately. So the sooner you buy before Super Bowl 56, the more additional days you will get for free. Just go to WagerTalk.com, choose your favorite handicapper to lock in, and don't forget there is no limit to the amount of handicappers you can redeem our Super Bowl to Super Bowl offer on.